Hey guys, welcome to my home gym. Now, a lot of us are forced to be training either at home or in the park in light of the current situation of the world. So a lot of people are thinking maybe they can't do the workout they want to, or because they don't have access to the equipment they need, that they still can't train or they can't get a decent workout done, which is not the case. So as everyone is working at home now or at parks and stuff with minimal equipment, we're going to be starting a at-home workout series where I'm going to be going over the main exercises you guys should be doing at home and the right way to do them, because we still need to focus on our form and make sure we're hitting the muscles right and doing everything correctly so we're getting the benefit out of the exercise. So this week I'm going to start with the push-up. So I'm going to go over the correct form, the right way to do the push-up, some ways to make it easier and a few ways to make it harder too, depending on what fitness level you are, so you can get the most out of it. So yeah, let's get into the push-up. So for basic push-ups, you don't need any equipment at all, maybe a mat just so you don't get dirty on the floor, or if you have tiles in your house or carpet, you can do it wherever you want. So the three biggest things I see people doing wrong in a push-up is, first one, they're not doing the full range of motion. So they're stopping early. They're not going all the way down to the ground, how they should be. A lot of people do half push-ups or they're just breaking the elbows. They're not even going all the way down. And you need to be working the muscles through the full range of motion to get the added benefits of that. On the other half of that, people aren't locking out at the top. So even if they are going all the way down, they're not coming all the way to the top and they're going straight back down again. So you need to fully be locking out your elbows at the top of the movement. So the second biggest mistake I see is the angle of your elbows as people are doing push-ups. So if this is the ground, a lot of people flare their elbows up like this and they're doing their push-ups this way, which is terrible for your shoulders and elbows. On the other side of that, people have their elbows too close. That's a different exercise altogether. That's a close grip push-up, which is going to work more of your triceps here. So we want to get in the middle of that, in the middle of those two ranges there. So this is the angle you should be aiming for. So see, I'm not flaring my elbows out that way, and I'm not staying close towards my body. I'm in the middle there. So that's the second thing I see people messing up a lot. And the third biggest problem is people not keeping their body straight as they're doing their push-ups. So contact with your toes and your hands are from each end of your body and not having a strong core throughout the whole movement. So this is what I mean. A lot of people do their push-ups and they're not focusing on keeping their glutes on and their core straight. So as they're doing it, they might be sinking in with their back like this, which they're really pushing up the top half of their body and then lifting their legs. You should be keeping glutes on, core tight the whole time, all the way down and then all the way back to the top. There should be no movement in your hips and no movement in your lower back. Okay, now that I've covered the three mistakes that most people make, they're the most common mistakes that I see, let's put that all together now that you know how to overcome them and how to do it the right way. So, hand placement outside of shoulder width. Your shoulders need to be in line with your palms. In that sense, I'm not all the way over here and my palms aren't here and I'm not going too far forward. So from my palm to my shoulder should be a straight line, keeping that shoulder width, outside of shoulder width distance. From there, up onto the ball of your foot. Before you even get ready to do the push-up, make sure you're tightening your glutes, turn your core on, keep that tight, and then you're ready to go from here. So bending from the elbows, lowering your chest all the way to the floor, keeping your body tight, pushing away, keeping your elbows locked at the top. So you want to do the full range of motion. Chest to the floor to elbows locked out. That's the full range. And just because you're doing the full range of motion doesn't mean it's always right either, even if all of those points of form are right. Because a lot of people will also, even if everything is right up here, they'll lower themselves down and bounce off the floor. You don't want to do that. You're lowering till your chest touches and then pressing back away. You're not using the floor as a spring to bounce your body back up. And for any of you guys that have wrist problems, because sometimes as a skateboarder I fall over all the time and my wrists are sore, so a lot of pressure through the wrist doesn't help me, you can keep your wrist straight and just use your knuckles as the point of contact instead of having your palm down. Either that or hold on to some dumbbells, which is going to be the same principle. It's going to keep your wrist straight so you don't have to bend it back. So same thing, instead of being on your palms, you're going to be on your knuckles, but you're still lowering yourself all the way down, pressing straight back up, all the same. Okay, now I covered the things that people mistake a lot of the time when they're doing the push-ups, and I've gone over it so you guys know how to do a proper push-up now. I'm going to show you some ways to make it easier. The form stays the same, but there's different ways to reduce a bit of your body weight so that you can perform the movement properly without sacrificing your form. So the first one I always go to is the easiest way to do it is just drop down onto your knees. So I'll show you what that looks like now. So all the same cues that I just mentioned, hand placement's the same, shoulder placement the same, but instead of being on your feet, you're gonna drop your knees down to the floor. So when people do push-ups on their knees, the one thing they do wrong is their hips are bent too much, like this. So they're in an awkward position as they're doing their push-ups. From your shoulders to your knees should be a straight line. So I'm straightening my hips, keeping my core tight at the same time as flexing my glutes is gonna keep that in a straight line. And then it's the same principle. Lowering your chest down to the floor, driving straight back up to the top. Full range of motion still. You're not bending your hips or arching your back. Everything's still the same. But now that you've dropped down to your knees, you've taken a bit of weight and resistance from your own body as you're taking most of your legs out of the movement, so you're able to perform the movement properly without compromising your form. Now another option for you guys that aren't quite able to do proper push-ups on your toes yet, rather than dropping down to your knees, you can do a box push-up or a bench push-up. Now what that looks like is this. Now you can use a retaining wall, you can use a bench at your house, you can use a chair, you can use whatever you have access to. Just remember that the form needs to stay the same, all of the cues are the same, full range of motion, make sure your glutes are on, your core's on, elbows at the right angle, and then obviously the higher that the platform is that you're working off, it's going to be easier. The lower the platform you're working on, it's going to be harder. So until you can work all the way up to doing push-ups on the floor with your toes, you can either drop down to your knees, or you can try one of these versions where you're pressing off the platform. Now for you guys that are trying to make your push-ups a little harder, I've got two options for you. First one is reversing the last option to make it easier, and instead of having your hands on top of the platform, you have your feet up on the platform, which is going to add more body weight to your upper body. So I'm going to use this chair. So having same setup as always, same cues, everything's the same. Form is always the same. So getting to that same position, but having your feet up on the chair. So now your body's angled down and more of your body weight's going to be shot up towards your upper body. So just like this, same things apply. Glutes on, core tight, hands in the same position. Lowering yourself down all the way to the floor again. Straight back up, locked out each time. So everything's the same. You're not sinking your hips down, your lower back's not bent, and you're not up like this. Everything is tight and solid. Option two is adding some weight to your body. So I have this weight vest here that I can put on. You guys don't need a weight vest. You can put some stuff in a bag, put a backpack on, that's going to add some weight to your body. You can put a weight plate if you have it on your back. Whichever way you want to add weight to your body, you're going to have added resistance to your actual push-up. So I'm going to use this. So same principles apply as always. You just added more resistance to your body, which is going to make the exercise harder. So if you've got a weight vest on like me, it might get in the way of your exercise because you're not going to be able to go as low. But if you have a bag on your back, that's going to stay out of your way. So it's just up to you how you want to add weight to your body. But everything stays the same. Still lowering down to your chest, straight back up, locking out of the top. Now throwing some bonuses for you guys that still want to make it harder, you can play around with your rep scheme. So what I like to do sometimes is 1.5 reps. So just like I'm doing here, lowering myself all the way down. Instead of completing a full rep, I'm only doing a half, going back down and completing the rest of the rep. So that's 1.5 reps for every 1 rep. Otherwise, you can play around with your tempo. So I like to slow my tempos down sometimes like this, 4 seconds on the way down, and then exploding up. So there is all different ways for you to add resistance and make the exercise harder, whether it's adding weight, making your body heavier by having your feet up, or changing the rep scheme or the tempo plan that you're doing. Instead of just doing a normal 3 sets of 10 reps, you can play around with what you want to do. Even you can shorten your rest breaks to make the resistance higher. So you're having less break, which is going to put more emphasis on your chest because you're having to go after a shorter amount of a break rather than fully recovering and being able to go again. So just play around with it, guys. That's a push-up for this week. I've taken you through the correct way to do it, things that people usually get wrong, ways to make it easier and ways to make it harder. So I look forward to seeing you guys doing your push-ups well. Comment below what you want to see next week and we'll get onto that for you. See you guys.